I was staring at the grainy footage on the security monitor, and it showed everything but the real story. I, Mason Caldwell, loosened my collar and leaned back in the tiny loss prevention office at the back of the store, watching this 19-year-old kid fidget in the hard plastic chair across from me. She'd slipped $47 worth of lipsticks and eyeliners into her backpack. Not exactly a heist worth dragging the police into, but company rules meant I had to go through the whole routine. Listen, I oversee 10 stores across 2 counties, I told her, keeping my voice steady, like I'd done this 100 times before. And I had. I've seen it all. Fake barcodes, switched price tags, even people using decoy bags. But you know what I haven't seen? Someone dumb enough to broadcast their theft on social media? Her eyes went wide and she scrambled for her phone. Already got a screenshot, I said, pushing a plain folder across the scratched-up desk. Your Snapchat story, posted 15 minutes ago. Getting my glam on, whatever it takes. Cute. The monitor behind me flickered, showing the bustling store floor. It was a busy Saturday afternoon in Fremont, Nebraska, with shoppers weaving through aisles, clueless about the little drama unfolding in this cramped, windowless room behind the customer service desk. I'd probably handled 250 of these interrogations over my 7 years climbing the retail ladder. As regional manager for Bargain Barn, my days revolved around cutting losses, stopping theft, and dealing with folks who thought they could outsmart the system. Reading people was my thing. I had to be good at it. I wasn't stealing, the girl muttered, her voice shaky. I was just checking how the stuff felt in my bag, the weight. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through her social media. You've got some interesting buddies, I said. Her Instagram was what you'd expect. Party pics, club selfies, the usual attention-chasing stuff kids her age post. But one photo stopped me cold. It was a group shot from some dive bar, posted 2 days ago. The girl was front and center, hugging her friends, but in the background, slightly blurry, was a face I knew too well. I zoomed in. My wife, Nora, was at a corner booth with some guy I'd never seen. The timestamp said 11:32 p.m. last Tuesday. Nora had told me she was at a recovery meeting that night, something called the Harmony Path, a support group for folks in their second year sober. She'd rolled in past midnight, saying they'd grabbed coffee after. That bar was in Grand Island, 60 miles west of our house in Lincoln's Meadowview neighborhood. Nora had never once mentioned Grand Island. Hey, you okay? The girl's voice snapped me back. I slid my phone into my pocket and got back to business. Here's the deal. You're going to sign this form, banning you from all Bargain Barn stores for a year. Then you walk out of here and think real hard about whether $47 worth of makeup is worth a rap sheet. She nodded fast, scribbling her name on the papers. I walked her to the front doors, my head already somewhere else. The sliding doors hissed shut behind her, and I stood there for a second in the bright, buzzing entryway, watching shoppers haul their bags across the parking lot. My phone pinged, a text from Nora. Running to the store, back by 6. Love ya. Sent from Lincoln, according to the location tag. But last Tuesday, she was 60 miles away in a bar with some stranger. I wandered back through the store, nodding at employees who tossed out hellos. 7 years of grinding 60-hour weeks had earned me their respect in a paycheck that kept me and Nora comfortable in our 2-bedroom bungalow. Not rich, but steady. Nora had cut back to part-time work as a massage therapist after rehab, focusing on her recovery, or so I thought. Back in my office, I pulled up the store's security system and checked the parking lot cameras. The feed was saved for 30 days. I scrolled to Tuesday night, lining it up with the timestamp from that Instagram post. Our blue Toyota wasn't in any of the footage from that evening. Nora had definitely been somewhere else. A knock at the door broke my focus. My assistant manager, Greg Tillman, poked his head in. That kid's paperwork is filed. Clean exit, no fuss. You good? He asked, eyeing me. Yeah, I said, closing the surveillance window. Greg, can you cover the weekend reports? Something's come up at home. He gave a quick nod and shut the door. Alone again, I stared at the photo on my desk. Me and Nora at her 1-year sobriety party last spring, both grinning, her recovery coin glinting in the light. She'd called quitting drinking the best choice she ever made, second only to marrying me. I opened an app on my phone, one I used for tracking inventory issues. Every digital photo has hidden data, GPS, device info, timestamps. Corporate trained U.S. regional managers to use it for sniffing out internal theft. The Instagram post metadata pinned the location to Rusty's Pub in Grand Island, posted at 11:38 p.m. Tuesday, just 6 minutes after the photo was snapped. Nora had never mentioned Rusty's pub, Grand Island, or the guy sitting across from her. I locked my computer and headed for my truck. The drive home usually takes 20 minutes, but I took the long route, winding through quiet Lincoln streets I don't often see, trying to piece it all together. Nora's recovery had seemed perfect. A month in rehab, 3 months of intensive outpatient, regular NA meetings, a sponsor, the whole deal. I'd found her secret vodka stashes in the garage 2 years back, and the confrontation was rough. Tears, apologies, promises. But she'd stuck to the program, and for the last 18 months, things felt solid. Our nights together had gotten closer, more passionate. She was present, engaged. We'd even started talking about kids, maybe getting a bigger place. She'd suggested we try therapy to rebuild trust after her drinking days. But last Tuesday, she was in a bar 60 miles away with some guy. I pulled into our driveway, and the garage door rolled up. Nora's car wasn't there. Nora was still out at the supermarket. I sat in my truck for a minute, staring at our house in Lincoln's Fairview neighborhood, Nebraska. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a tidy front yard with fresh sod we'd put in last summer. We'd bought it 5 years back, just before her drinking spiraled. I'd always felt good about giving us a solid home, a place to build a life. Inside, I headed straight to our spare room, where we kept a desk and a computer. Nora had shared her laptop password with me early in her recovery, a trust-building thing. I'd never used it until now. Her browser history looked normal enough, cooking blogs, sobriety support groups, online stores, but her search history told a different story. Over the past 2 months, she'd looked up bars and diners in Grand Island, plus stuff like how to clear phone location data and apps that don't track you. My stomach knotted up. I clicked into her email. Most of it was junk. Store coupons, newsletters, emails from her sponsor. But tucked in a folder labeled social, I found notifications from apps I didn't know. One was called ConnectSphere, advertising private meetups for adults. Another, Elite Match, had a tagline about custom relationships. The ConnectSphere emails, dated last month, mentioned new connections nearby, a message from someone called Bryce Voyage 88, and a profile view from low-key Grand Island. I shut the laptop and walked to the kitchen. Through the window, I saw our neighbor trimming his hedges. Kids were riding bikes down the street. Just another Saturday in suburbia. My phone buzzed. Nora again. Stores packed. Picking up stuff for dinner too. Home by 7:30. I texted back, "Take your time. Just chilling." Truth was, I wasn't chilling. I didn't even know what was on TV. For the next hour, I poked around the house, checking places I usually ignored. In Nora's nightstand, behind her earrings, I found a tin of breath mints I'd never seen. Those fancy ones from drugstore racks, marketed for close encounters. The expiration date was next month, so they were new. In her car's glove box, I found a parking stub from Grand Island, dated 10 days ago, covering 4 hours from 7:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. In the bathroom, behind her meds, was a tiny bottle of perfume I'd never smelled on her. The receipt, still in the box, showed it came from a Grand Island mall, bought 2 weeks back. Every clue pointed to her making regular trips to Grand Island, a place she'd never brought up in 4 years of marriage. The garage door groaned open at 7:40. I was at the kitchen table, hands clasped, when Nora walked in with grocery bags. "Sorry I'm late," she said, brushing a kiss on my forehead. That new perfume hit me like a punch. Traffic was nuts. "No big deal," I said, forcing a smile. "How's your day going?" "Just dull errands, groceries, nothing fun," she said, unloading chicken and veggies onto the counter. "How was work?" "Caught a kid stealing. Normal Saturday stuff." "Nice job," she said, but her voice seemed rushed. "I mean, not nice they stole, but good you caught 'em." She was talking faster than usual. "Grab stuff for that stir-fry you like. Want to cook together?" "Sounds great," I said, watching her closely. I started noticing things I'd missed before. Her phone was face down on the counter and buzzed twice. She glanced at it but didn't touch it. "Hey, Nora," I said casually. "You know anybody in Grand Island?" She stopped dead, a bag of rice halfway to the shelf. "Grand Island? Nah, don't ring a bell. Why?" "One of our stores might open a branch there," I said. "Could mean a trip for me." "Oh," she said, turning back to the groceries. "That's pretty far, right?" "About 60 miles west," I said. "Have you ever been there?" "Not that I remember," she said, fussing with the fridge way longer than needed. "Maybe we passed through on a road trip or something." I nodded, keeping my face neutral. "Yeah, probably. All these towns blur together." We cooked dinner, chatted about work, weekend plans, Maybe planting some herbs next spring. Typical married couple talk. But I noticed how she kept her phone nearby, how she slipped off to the bathroom twice, how her normal seemed more like acting than living. After dinner, we settled on the couch for a movie. Nora snuggled against me, her head on my chest, and for a second, I almost convinced myself I'd misread everything. Maybe she had some old friend in Grand Island she forgot to mention. Maybe those app emails were just spam. Maybe the perfume was a coworker's gift. But then her phone lit up on the coffee table, and I caught the notification before she snatched it. Bryce Voyage 88. Still thinking about Tuesday night, she swiped the message away without opening it and turned back to the movie. But I'd seen enough. Bryce Voyage 88 was the same name from those ConnectSphere emails. The same Tuesday night she'd said she was at a recovery meeting. The same Tuesday night she was snapped in a Grand Island bar. After the movie, we headed to bed. Nora was out like a light, breathing soft beside me. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake, thinking about 7 years of 60-hour weeks, the mortgage payments, the new sod, the life we'd built. I thought about the trust I'd pieced back together after her rehab, and the lies she'd fed me 3 hours ago when she said she didn't know anyone in Grand Island. At 2:30 a.m., I slipped out of bed and crept to the spare room. Our house had a fancy smart security setup, cameras at the front and back doors, motion detectors, the whole deal. Nora had pushed for it last year, saying it'd keep us safe. The system saved footage for 90 days. I fired up the computer in our spare room and started digging through the past month's recordings. Most of it was boring. Me heading to work, Nora leaving for her part-time shifts at the massage studio, delivery guys dropping off packages, neighbors walking their dogs. But 4 Tuesdays back, the backdoor camera caught Nora slipping out at 7:15 p.m. in that sparkly dress she saved for big nights out. She came back at 1:30 a.m., stepping carefully in heels I hadn't seen her wear in ages. 3 Tuesdays ago, same deal, out at 7:40 p.m., back at 12:45 a.m. Last Tuesday, she left at 7:20 p.m. and didn't return until 1:25 a.m. Each time, she told me she was at Harmony Path meetings, supposedly running from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. I grabbed a notebook and jotted down the dates and times. My years managing bargain barn stores taught me to build a case like a detective. Whether it was employee theft or fake vendor invoices, you needed evidence. This felt no different. At 3:15 a.m., I looked up the Harmony Path group online. Their site listed meeting schedules across the region. Tuesday meetings in Lincoln ran from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Not 7:30 to 9 hours like Nora said. Worse, 2 of those Tuesdays had no meetings at all. The group was on a holiday break. I shut the laptop and crept back to bed. Nora was still out cold, curled up on her side. In the faint glow from the hallway, she looked like the woman I married 4 years ago, before the drinking, the rehab, and whatever this was. Sunday morning, she was all smiles, flipping pancakes in the kitchen. We sipped coffee and swapped sections of the newspaper, a habit she'd picked up in recovery. She mentioned visiting her cousin next weekend and asked if I'd tag along. Might be tied up, I said. We're doing inventory at the Grand Island store. She froze for a split second. I thought you said you were just thinking about opening there. Yeah, but there's a store we might buy instead of building new, I said. She nodded, flipping through the paper, but I caught a flicker of worry in her eyes. After breakfast, she said she was going for a stroll around Fairview. From the kitchen window, I watched her head down the street, then opened the Find My app we'd set up during her recovery. Her phone showed her walking toward downtown Lincoln. 20 minutes later, it pinged at a parking lot near the Lincoln Community Center. She stayed there an hour, then her signal vanished, phone off or in airplane mode. An hour later, it popped up at a gas station in Grand Island. I paced the living room, checking her location like a hawk. She spent 2 hours in Grand Island, bouncing between what looked like a diner and a quiet residential street before heading back. Her signal went normal when she was 10 minutes from home. She walked in at 3:15 p.m., a little winded. Great walk, she said, brushing her hair back. Went longer than I planned. Found a cool path near the community center. Nice, I said. Good workout? Oh yeah, she replied, heading upstairs. Gonna hop in the shower. While she was gone, I checked her car. The odometer was up 132 miles since yesterday. A round trip to Grand Island and back was about 140 miles, give or take some driving around. That night, we ordered wings and watched basketball, like any normal couple, but I kept watching her like I'd watch a shoplifter, looking for slips, little tells. She seemed chill, even sweet, leaning into me on the couch. but twice I caught her grinning at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Monday morning, I got to work early and called my buddy Vince, who handled IT security for the regional office. "Need a favor," I said. "Personal stuff. I think Nora's got some identity theft going on. Weird apps sending stuff to her email. Can you dig into it?" Vince had helped me before with employee background checks and social media sweeps. Corporations were big on using every tool to stop losses. "What kind of apps?" he asked. "Dating apps, maybe," I said. "But she's not dating anyone, obviously. Could be someone using her pictures for fake profiles. Happens a lot, right?" "All the time," Vince said. "Give me her email and I'll run a deep search, see what's linked to it." I gave him the details and asked him to keep it quiet. Identity theft was bad enough without the whole office knowing. By Tuesday afternoon, Vince called me into his office. "This is odd," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Her emails are tied to active accounts on 4 dating platforms: ConnectSphere, Elite Match, Secret Vibe, and one called Private Pulse, all set up in the last 6 months." "Gotta be fake," I said, but my throat felt tight. "Here's the thing," Vince said, pulling up screenshots. "They're using recent photos of Nora. Professional ones, good lighting, different outfits. Either someone's got a ton of new pictures of her or—" He trailed off. I stared at the screen. The profiles had photos of Nora I'd never seen. Polished headshots, full body shots, and clothes I didn't recognize, all staged to look good. The usernames were sneaky: Quiet Lincoln Vibe, Free and Healing, Nora Seeks Fun, No Ties In. The bios were consistent: 34, newly single, looking for low-key meetups, no strings, thrill-seeking. Vince clicked into the messaging logs. "She's been chatting with multiple people, mostly about meeting up. Regular contacts in a few cities." "Which ones?" I asked, my voice flat. "Grand Island's big," he said. "Also Fremont, Kearney, and Hastings. Always towns 50 to 100 miles from Lincoln." I sat there, glued to the computer screen, staring at pictures of Nora I'd never seen, her profiles claiming she was single and chasing thrills. "Vince," I said, my voice low, "delete these screenshots and pretend we never talked about this." "Sure thing, man," Vince said, his face softening. "This is rough. I'm sorry." "It's just something I needed to know," I told him. Back in my office, I spent an hour gazing out at the Bargain Barn parking lot. People loaded their groceries and gear into their cars, dealing with their own messes, living their everyday lives. My marriage, it wasn't every day anymore. Hadn't been for a while, apparently. Tuesday night, Nora had dinner ready when I got home. My favorite pot roast, creamy mashed potatoes, and roasted carrots. She'd set out candles and poured sparkling grape juice into fancy glasses. "What's this for?" I asked, hanging up my jacket. "No reason," she said, smiling as she leaned in for a kiss, her lips lingering. "I just wanted to do something sweet for my guy. I love you, Mason. I don't say it enough." Over dinner, she was chattier than she'd been in weeks, asking about my day, sharing stories from the massage studio, tossing out ideas for our anniversary next month. "Maybe we could do a weekend getaway," she said. "That little inn by the lake you mentioned last summer?" "Sounds perfect," I said. "I'll check it out tomorrow. My treat. I've been saving up from my part-time hours." After dinner, we got close for the first time in a month, her warmth and focus pulling me in like old times. Lying there afterward, her head on my chest, I stared at the ceiling, wondering if this was guilt, a goodbye, or her way of keeping me off her trail while she met guys in towns she never mentioned. Wednesday morning, I called in sick and tailed Nora. She left the house at 10:30 a.m., saying she was picking up an extra shift at the studio. Instead, she hit a salon in downtown Lincoln, then spent 2 hours shopping at a mall. She bought lingerie at a boutique, a new perfume at a department store, and a sleek dress from some high-end shop I didn't know. By 3:30 p.m., she was home, stashing the bags in her car's trunk. At 7 p.m., she said she was headed to a special Harmony Path meeting for new members, a mentoring thing that could run late. "How late?" I asked, leaning against the counter. "Maybe 10:30 or 11, she said. "You know how it goes when people start sharing." "Drive safe," I said. She left at 7:45 p.m., wearing the new dress and that unfamiliar perfume. I waited 15 minutes, then tracked her using the Find My app. She drove straight to Grand Island and parked behind Rusty's Pub, the same place from that Instagram photo. I pulled into a spot across the street and waited. At 8:20 p.m., Nora walked out with a guy built like a linebacker. Tall, ripped, wearing a tight shirt with a logo for a kickboxing gym. Had to be Bryce Voyage 88. They hopped into his black SUV and drove to a motel 5 blocks away. I sat in my truck, staring at the motel room window for 2 hours. The lights dimmed at 9:45 p.m. At 11:50 p.m., they came out. Their goodbye in the parking lot wasn't some quick hug. It was the kind of deep, lingering kiss I remembered from when we first started dating, hands wrapped up in each other, like they didn't want to let go. Nora drove home, slipping in through the back door at 12:40 a.m. I faked sleep when she slid into bed beside me. Thursday morning, she was all sunshine at breakfast, asking about my day and suggesting we hit our favorite diner Friday night. "To celebrate you shaking off that bug," she said with a grin. "That's sweet," I said, stirring my coffee. "Feeling fine now." "Good," she said. "You work too hard. I worry." After she left for the studio, I drove to Grand Island and found the kickboxing gym from the guy's shirt, Iron Pulse Fitness, in an old warehouse on the edge of town. Through the window, I saw the same guy from last night, coaching a group of teens through sparring drills. A sign out front advertised personal training and fight prep classes. I walked in and approached the front desk, where a woman in her 20s was flipping through a sports magazine. "I'm interested in training," I said. "With that guy over there, the one with the kids." "That's Bryce Carter," she said. "He's awesome. Used to compete in amateur boxing, really knows his stuff. Are you looking to fight or just get fit?" "Just fitness," I said. "Not exactly a brawler." She chuckled. "Most folks aren't. Bryce is great with newbies. He's got openings Thursday nights." "What about Tuesdays?" I asked. "Tuesdays he's usually booked," she said. "Got a regular client he's been training for a few months." I set up a session for the following Thursday and gave her my contact info. On my way out, I snapped pictures of Bryce's SUV in the lot, license plate, make, model, a few scratches for good measure. Back home, I looked up Bryce Carter online. His social media painted him as a 30-year-old ex-boxer turned coach, sidelined by a knee injury. His posts were all about fitness, chasing dreams, and living without regrets. His Instagram had pics from Rusty's pub and that same motel where he'd taken Nora. Recent posts showed him with different women, always tagged in towns outside Grand Island. Looked like he kept his hookups spread out. One post from 10 days ago was at a diner I recognized from Nora's search history. The caption read, "Best moments come when you're not looking." Real vibes, Giger no ties, Giger live your truth. It was liked by an account called Nora Seeks Fun, one of Nora's dating profiles. Thursday evening, I showed up for my training session with Bryce Carter. The gym was quiet, just a handful of hardcore types sweating it out alone. "First time trying anything like kickboxing?" Bryce asked, eyeing my average build and desk jockey frame. "Yeah, first go," I said, stretching awkwardly. "Nora thought I should mix it up, do something tougher than the treadmill." "Smart lady," he said. "What's she doing?" "Massage therapist," I replied, always pushing folks to try new stuff. I played up my rookie status, fumbling a stance. "She's been getting out more herself lately, meeting new people, trying new things. Her recovery program's big on building connections." Bryce's face twitched, just for a second. Maybe he recognized something. Maybe he didn't. "That's awesome," he said. "It takes guts to stay sober." We spent an hour on basic moves. Bryce was a solid coach, patient with my legit clumsiness, but he seemed off, glancing at his phone between drills. "You look busy," I said, wiping sweat from my brow. "Big weekend?" "Just handling some stuff," he said, shrugging. "You know how it goes." "Not really," I said, tossing my towel over my shoulder. "Nora runs our social life. I just show up where she points me. She's got some event tomorrow night. Another recovery thing, I think." "Friday night, huh?" Bryce said, his tone flat. "Yeah, I might run late," I said. "I'll probably just grab some wings and watch hoops." He nodded, not saying much. At the end of the session, he seemed in a hurry to bolt. "Same time next week?" he asked, already heading for the office. "You bet," I said. "Thanks for going easy on a newbie." Friday evening, Nora told me she was headed to a special recovery seminar that could go until midnight. "It's a deep dive session for folks who've hit rough patches," she said, adjusting her earrings. "Heavy stuff, but it matters." "Need a ride if it's that late?" I asked. "Nah, I'm good," she said. "Some folks are carpooling." She left at 7:15 p.m., wearing a modest dress, but I'd felt the new lingerie underneath when I hugged her goodbye. Using the Find My app, I tracked her to Rusty's pub in Grand Island, then to that same motel from Tuesday. She stayed until 11:45 p.m. before heading home. Saturday morning, while Nora slept in, I drove to Bargain Barn and used the employee system to run a full background check on Bryce Carter. Company policy lets managers investigate anyone who might be targeting staff or customers. Bryce's record showed a couple of bar brawls, charges dropped, and a lawsuit from an ex that settled quietly. The gym had a few complaints filed with the Better Business Bureau for unprofessional behavior. Worse, his social media showed a pattern. Posts with women tagged with recovery hashtags, always in towns outside Grand Island. Bryce wasn't just hooking up with married women, he was zeroing in on women in recovery, like they were prizes to collect. Sunday afternoon, I faced Nora. She was in the laundry room folding shirts. "We gotta talk," I said, leaning against the dryer. "About what?" she asked, but her voice had that shaky edge I remembered from her drinking days. "Where you were Friday night," I said. She kept folding, eyes down. "I told you, the recovery seminar." "Which program was that?" I pressed. "Harmony Path like always," she said. "I called them yesterday," I said. "They don't do Friday seminars, never have events past 9 p.m. Her hands froze on a shirt. Silence hung heavy for a minute. "I can explain," she said finally. "Go ahead," I said, crossing my arms. "It's not what you think." "What do I think?" "That I'm stepping out on you," she said, her voice flat, like she'd rehearsed it. "I'm not." "Then where were you Friday?" I asked, keeping my tone steady. "With a friend from the program who's struggling," she said. "I didn't tell you because it's private, and they're embarrassed about needing help." "What's their name?" I asked. "I can't say," she replied. "It's confidential." "Is it Bryce Carter?" Her face went white, and she sank onto a pile of towels. "How do you know that name?" she whispered. "I followed you, Nora," I said. "Tuesday and Friday. Rusty's pub, then the Grand Island Motel. I saw you kissing him in the parking lot." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing, not the fake tears from her drinking days, but real, gut-wrenching ones. "I'm so sorry, Mason," she choked out. "I never meant for this to happen." "How long?" I asked. 3 months, maybe 4, she said. "How'd you meet him?" "Online," she admitted. "I wasn't looking for anything, I swear. I was just lonely. You're always working," and I felt like a ghost. A cold weight settled in my chest. Not rage, not pain, but the kind of calm I'd use at work when handling a crisis. "You still going to meetings?" I asked. "Most of them," she said. "I skipped a few when I was with Bryce." "You drinking again?" "No," she said, eyes wide. "I swear I'm not." "But you're lying to me every Tuesday and Friday," I said. She looked up, tears streaking her face. "It's not about you, Mason. It's about me feeling alive again." "Alive," I said. "You need to feel wanted by other guys?" "I just wanted to feel seen," she said. "When's the last time you noticed me? Really noticed me? Not just the bills or the house or my recovery?" "So you made dating profiles and started sneaking around?" I asked. "It was supposed to be one time," she said, still crying. "Just once to feel attractive. But then I liked it. I liked the secrets, being someone else, not just the sober wife folding laundry." I stood and walked to the kitchen. Nora trailed behind, tears still falling. "What now?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "You gonna leave me?" "I don't know." "You gonna tell my family?" "I don't know." She stood there waiting for me to say more, but I was empty, like I was watching my life from a million miles away. "I'll end it," Nora said. "I'll tell Bryce it's done." "Delete those apps," I said, my voice steady. "Cut it all off. We can try counseling. We can fix this." Nora nodded fast, her eyes wide. "I will," she said. "I want to stop, Mason. I choose you. I choose us." "You didn't choose us for 4 months," I shot back. "You were sneaking around because you wanted to, not because of some recovery stress." My bluntness stopped her cold. "It's that simple," I went on. "You wanted something else, so you went for it. You didn't care about me, our marriage, or the promises we made." "That's not fair," she said, her voice shaking. "You make it sound so cold." "What was it then?" I asked. She hesitated, then whispered. "It felt like being free, like I hadn't been in years." The words hung heavy. I nodded slowly. "Thanks for the truth. Now I know where I stand." I walked to our bedroom and started packing a duffel bag. Nora trailed behind, her words tumbling out. Counseling, fresh starts, how we'd gotten through her drinking before. "Where are you going?" she asked as I zipped the bag shut. "Motel tonight," I said. "I'll figure it out tomorrow when it comes." "You're just leaving?" she said, her voice cracking. "Without even trying?" "You already made your choices," I said. "You built a whole secret life with guys in different towns. That's not a slip-up. That's you picking something else, week after week." "But I'll stop now," she said. "Doesn't that mean anything?" I paused at the door. "You're stopping because I caught you. That's not choosing our marriage." "What can I do?" she asked, desperate. "Nothing," I said, and walked out. I drove to a Comfort Inn near the Bargain Barn office in Lincoln and booked a room for the week. Sitting on the stiff motel bed, I called my brother Connor in Denver. I need some advice, I said when he picked up. What's wrong, he asked. Nora's been cheating, I said. Multiple guys for months. Connor went quiet for a second. Damn, Mason, you sure? I followed her, I said. Saw her with one of them. There's more. What's your next move, he asked. I don't know, I said, staring at the motel's popcorn ceiling. I'm in a hotel trying to figure out if I'm madder at her or at myself for missing it. Don't beat yourself up for trusting her, Connor said. She hid it. That's what people do when they're sneaking around. The signs were there, I said. I just didn't see them. She made sure you didn't, he said. That's on her. Nora wanted counseling, swore she'd end it all, start fresh. You think she means it? Connor asked. I think she'll try until she gets restless again, I said. She's done this before. Booze instead of guys. She quits for a bit, then falls back when things get tough. Sounds like you're seeing a pattern, Connor said. Yeah, I said. No plan yet, just needs space to think. We talked for an hour, mostly about practical stuff, lawyers, money, what comes next. Connor offered to drive down, but I told him I needed to handle this solo. Monday morning, I dragged myself to work, trying to focus on store reports. Greg, my assistant manager, noticed I was off but didn't push. I appreciated him keeping it professional. At lunch, Nora texted, "Can we talk? I miss you." I didn't reply. Tuesday night, she called while I was picking at a burger in the motel diner. I ended it, she said right away. Told Bryce it's done. Deleted all the apps. I want to come home. Good for you, I said, my voice flat. That's it, she asked. Good for you? What do you want me to say, I asked. That I'm proud of you for stopping something you never should have started? I want you to see I'm trying, she said. I see you trying to clean up a mess you made, I said. She went quiet for a long moment. You're being harsh, she said finally. I'm being real, I said. When are you coming home? I'm not, I said. What do you mean? I mean, we're done. I want a divorce. You can't mean that, she said, her voice breaking. I've never been more sure, I said. Mason, please, we can fix this. People get through this stuff all the time. Some do, I said. I'm not one of them. What about our vows, she asked. For better or worse? You broke those every time you met up with someone else, I said. Every lie, every secret date, every time you came home and acted like nothing happened. That wasn't one mistake. That was you choosing something else over and over. She started crying. I love you, Mason. I love our life. No, I said. You love the stability I give you while you do what you want. That's not love. That's not true, she said. It is, I said. You never came clean. You never told me you were struggling or felt disconnected. You just built secret profiles and started meeting strangers. I was scared you'd leave, she said. So you betrayed me instead, I said. We went back and forth for another 20 minutes, but it was going nowhere. Nora wanted forgiveness, a reset. I needed her to see that some choices can't be undone. After hanging up, I called a divorce lawyer Connor recommended. We set a meeting for Thursday afternoon. Wednesday morning, my phone rang with a call from Vince in IT. Got some bad news, he said, his voice heavy. Remember that identity theft check we ran on Nora's email? Yeah, I said, bracing myself. Someone's been poking around our system, trying to get into your employee records. The IP traces back to Carla Vance in HR. My gut twisted. Carla was Nora's high school buddy, the one who'd hooked her up with the part-time massage therapist gig. They'd stayed tight, grabbing coffee or hitting them all together. What were they after, I asked. Everything, Vince said. Your pay, performance reviews, work schedule, even disciplinary notes. Someone gave her your employee ID and login details. How long's this been going on? I asked. Access logs show at least 6 months, maybe more, he said. I thanked him and hung up. 6 months ago was when Nora's affairs started, meaning she'd been plotting this longer than she'd let on, and roping in her friend to dig into my work life. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment betrayal. This was calculated with help. I called my divorce lawyer, Lorraine Baxter, and bumped our meeting to that afternoon. Lorraine, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, who handled messy divorces with financial deception, listened as I laid out everything. Based on what you've shared, she said, flipping through my evidence, Nora's been orchestrating this for a while. The data mining through her friend, the multiple dating profiles, the affairs spread across different towns. It's all deliberate, designed to stay under the radar. What's that mean for me legally? I asked. In Nebraska, we can push for a fault-based divorce, as she said. Infidelity can sway asset division, especially if marital funds were used for her activities. I pulled out our bank statements. She's been charging hotels, restaurants, and shopping sprees in places like Grand Island. Thousands of dollars over 6 months. Lorraine scanned the records. This is solid evidence, she said. We can argue she misused joint funds for extramarital relationships, which often means a bigger share for the non-cheating spouse. What about the house? I asked. We bought it before all this. It's marital property, she said, but given the circumstances and you being the main breadwinner, we can push for a split that favors you. We spent 2 hours digging through bank records, proof of her affairs, and legal options. Lorraine was all business, treating it like the transaction it was becoming. One personal question, she said as we finished. Are you sure about divorce? Once we file, it's public. Her boss might find out, her family will, and if she reacts poorly, it could get ugly fast. I thought about 4 months of lies, Bryce Carter, Carla snooping through my work files. She made her choices, I said. Now she lives with them. Thursday evening, Lorraine filed the divorce papers. By law, Nora had to be served within 72 hours. Friday afternoon, while I was running a regional manager meeting at Bargain Barn, a process server handed Nora the papers at the massage studio. Lorraine later told me Nora lost it, yelling that it was a mistake, that I'd never file without talking to her first. She called my phone 19 times during the meeting. I ignored everyone. When I checked later, I had 47 texts waiting. How could you do this without telling me? I can't believe you filed without trying counseling. You're ruining us over a mistake. Call me now. I'm not signing anything. My lawyer says you can't prove I cheated. You're being cruel. By evening, her texts turned from begging to furious to threatening. You'll regret this. I know stuff about your store operations that could stir trouble. Carla's got dirt on how you handle staff. I'm not just going to let you wreck me. I forwarded the threatening messages to Lorraine, who told me to save everything and steer clear of Nora until the legal process was done. Saturday morning, I drove to our house in Lincoln's Fairview neighborhood to grab more of my stuff. Nora's car was in the driveway, but she didn't answer when I knocked. I let myself in with my key. The place was trashed. Couches flipped, plates smashed in the kitchen, fist-sized holes in the living room drywall. Upstairs, our bedroom was a wreck. Mattress torn up, my clothes strewn across the floor, dresser drawers dumped out. On the bathroom mirror, scrawled in red lipstick, was a message. You forced me to do this. I called the Lincoln police to report the trashed house, then got Lorraine on the line to tell her about the damage. This actually strengthens our case, Lorraine said. It shows unstable behavior, which backs our push for a fault-based divorce. The cop who showed up was calm, like he'd seen this kind of thing 100 times. Any clue where your wife might be? He asked, jotting notes. Probably at her cousin's or with friends, I said. We'll file a report for the property damage, he said, but unless you want to press vandalism charges, this stays a civil issue. I shook my head. I just wanted to grab my stuff and keep moving toward the divorce. That evening, Nora's cousin Tessa called me. No hello, just straight to it. What's wrong with you, Mason? She snapped. Nora's at my place, bawling her eyes out, saying you filed for divorce out of nowhere. It wasn't out of nowhere, I said. 4 months of her sneaking around with other guys sent a pretty clear message. She messed up, Tessa said. She deserves another shot. She messed up hundreds of times, I said. Every lie, every secret meetup, every time she came home acting like everything was fine. People get second chances, Tessa said. She got hers when I forgave her for drinking, I said. This is her third chance, and I'm done. You're heartless, she said. I'm realistic, I shot back. Nora doesn't want a marriage. She wants to play singles while I pay the bills. That's not love. That's using me. Tessa hung up. Over the next hour, Nora's mom called, then her dad, then her brother. Same script every time. I was unfair. I should give Nora another chance. I'd regret tearing the family apart. After the 5th call, I turned my phone off. The next week, Lorraine called with news. Nora's hired a lawyer, she said. Elliot Warner, sharp and pricey. She's not messing around. What's their angle? I asked. They're saying her affairs came from untreated depression tied to her recovery, Lorraine said. They want to delay the divorce for a psych evaluation, claiming counseling could save the marriage. Can they do that? I asked. They can try, she said. The judge might order counseling if he thinks there's a shot at fixing things. There's no shot, I said. We know that, Lorraine said, but we need to prove it in court. We have to show her deception was calculated and ongoing. Lorraine had been busy, pulling records from the dating apps, hotel receipts, phone logs, and bank statements showing purchases of lingerie and perfume Nora never wore for me. The evidence is airtight, she said, but her lawyer's good at spinning stories. He'll argue this was a mental health blip, not a character flaw. What do we do? I asked. We prove it was deliberate, she said. We need to talk to the guys she was seeing, everyone we can find. If we show a pattern of planned, repeated behavior, it kills their temporary crisis defense. My stomach churned, but I got the logic. I'll do whatever you need, I said. Over the next 2 weeks, Lorraine's private investigator tracked down 3 of Nora's regular hookups: Bryce Carter in Grand Island, a single accountant in Fremont, and a property developer in Kearney. All 3 said Nora told them she was single, had been seeing them for months, and had talked about keeping things going. The developer even offered to find her a condo near Kearney. This shows she was testing the waters for a single life, Lorraine said, while keeping the financial safety net of your marriage. The evidence was crushing, but it didn't feel good. Every new detail just proved how wrong I'd been about the woman I thought I knew. 3 weeks after filing, Greg called me at work. "We've got a problem," he said. "Someone called the corporate ethics line saying you've been using company systems for personal surveillance and creating a toxic workplace." My chest tightened. "What kind of surveillance?" I asked. "They claim you're stalking employees, pulling personal data without clearance, and intimidating staff," he said. "Who's the caller?" "It's anonymous," Greg said, "but they knew details about your computer logs and the IT check you asked for." Had to be Carla, probably pushed by Nora or her lawyer. "Greg, let me fill you in," I said. I laid it all out. The divorce, Nora's affairs, Carla's unauthorized digging into my employee files, and how I'd used company tools to check for identity theft, which was legit under our protocols. Greg, who'd been with Bargain Barn for a decade, listened without judging. "Sounds like retaliation," he said, "but corporate's got to investigate. They'll want a formal interview, probably next week. I'd document everything: timeline, evidence, why your actions were above board." That night, I called Lorraine about the workplace complaint. "This is them escalating," she said. "Nora and her lawyer are trying to hit your credibility and your job." "It's a classic move in ugly divorces," Lorraine said when I told her about the corporate complaint. "Can they pull it off?" I asked. "They can try," she said, "but throwing around baseless accusations can blow up in their faces if we prove their nonsense." "How do we do that?" I asked. "We keep track of everything," she said. "People who lie like this usually can't stop themselves from lying more." She was right. Over the next week, complaints came at me from all sides. My homeowners association got a tip that I'd been harassing neighbors over parking disputes. My credit union was told I was dodging financial reporting rules with shady transactions. Even my gym got a call claiming I'd been inappropriate with women in the locker room. Each one fell apart under scrutiny, but the pattern was obvious. Nora and her lawyer were waging a war to trash my reputation. "This is good for us," Lorraine said when I filled her in. "It shows they're desperate and willing to play dirty. The judge will see through it." The Bargain Barn investigation wrapped up, clearing me completely. My use of IT resources was legit, tied to checking for identity theft, and there was zero evidence of any misconduct. Meanwhile, Carla Vance got canned for snooping in my employee files. She tried to spin it as whistleblowing on management corruption, but the logs proved she was just stealing data for personal reasons. "Her firing helps us," Lorraine said. "It shows Nora had someone helping her spy on your work and finances, which proves her affairs were planned, not some mental health fluke." 8 weeks after filing, we had our first court hearing in Lincoln. Nora showed up with her lawyer, Elliot Warner, dressed in a plain sweater and skirt, no makeup, looking like someone battling inner demons. The judge went through my evidence: the dating app records, hotel receipts, bank statements, and statements from Nora's 3 regular hookups: Bryce Carter in Grand Island, the accountant in Fremont, and the property developer in Kearney. "Mrs. Caldwell," the judge said, "your lawyer claims these affairs stemmed from untreated depression. Can you explain why you turned to dating apps instead of seeking help?" Nora's voice shook. "Your Honor, I wasn't thinking straight. Recovery was hard, I felt distant from my husband, and I made awful choices for 6 months. I was in a bad place." "Were you in a bad place when you had your friend access your husband's work records?" the judge asked. Elliot objected, saying it was irrelevant, but the judge waved him off. "I don't know what you mean," Nora said. The judge tapped the evidence file. "Ms. Vance was fired from your husband's company for illegally accessing his schedules and salary for 6 months, right when your affair started." I didn't ask her to do that, Nora said. But she did, the judge said. And you used that information to plan your meetups around his work hours. Elliot tried to shift the focus, but the damage was done. Nora's deception was too calculated to spin. After 2 hours, the judge ruled in my favor. The divorce would move forward as filed, with assets leaning my way because Nora used our money for her affairs. Outside the courthouse, Nora cornered me in the parking lot. You ruined my life, she said, tears streaming down her face. I slipped up, and you turned it into a weapon to destroy me. You ruined your own life, I said, keeping my voice even. I just laid out what you did. I loved you, she said. No, you didn't, I said. You loved having me cover the bills while you lived a double life. That's not true, she said. It is, I said. You never came to me when you felt disconnected. You went straight to secret profiles and strangers. I was scared to talk to you, she said. But don't be scared to lie to me for 6 months, I said. Her lawyer appeared, pulling her away and warning me that more contact could be seen as harassment. 3 months later, the divorce was final. I kept the house in Lincoln's Fairview and most of our assets. Nora got a small settlement and had to cover any debts tied to her affairs. On the day it was official, I drove to the house, my house now, and walked through the rooms Nora and I had shared for 4 years. The walls were patched, the floors cleaned, new furniture in place. It looked like a home again, but it felt different, quiet, honest, like a fresh start. My phone buzzed with a text from Lorraine. Congrats, you're a free man. I sat in the living room, staring out at the front yard I'd planted, thinking about 7 years of 60-hour weeks and the life I thought I'd built with someone who'd been planning her escape the whole time. I felt hollow, but not in a bad way. Hollow like a room cleared out, ready for whatever I'd put in it next. The doorbell chimed. Through the window, I saw a woman in her 30s clutching a legal folder. Mason Caldwell, she said when I opened the door. Yeah, I said. I'm Detective Claire Ramsey, Grand Island Police. I need to talk about Bryce Carter. My stomach sank. What about him? He was admitted to the hospital last night after a brawl at his gym, she said. Someone posted videos online of him with multiple married women, along with their personal info. His business is getting boycotted, he's lost his coaching licenses, and someone broke his nose in the parking lot. That's rough, I said, but why are you telling me? Mr. Carter claims you're behind a campaign to ruin him, she said. He says you've been stalking him, digging into his clients and spreading lies online. I haven't posted anything, I said. I had a private investigator look into him for my divorce, all legal and handled through my lawyer. Claire raised an eyebrow. Someone used details only an investigator would have, photos, chat logs, personal data, to tank his reputation. I saw what was happening. Someone had taken my divorce evidence and turned it into a weapon against Bryce, but it wasn't me. Detective, I said, I've been neck deep in my divorce for months. I haven't had time or energy to go after Bryce beyond what my lawyer needed. Does anyone else have access to that info? She asked. I thought it over. Lorraine, the private investigator, the court filings. The evidence went public when my divorce was finalized, I said. Anyone could have pulled it from court records. We're tracking the source of the posts, she said. If we tie this to you, there'll be charges. After she left, I called Lorraine. Someone used our case files to smear Bryce Carter online, I told her. That's messy, she said, but it wasn't us. Our work ended when the divorce closed. The cops might suspect you, but unless you've been running a secret social media vendetta, you're clear. I wasn't running anything. I'd been focused on rebuilding my life, not torching the people who'd wrecked my old one. But someone else had clearly taken things into their own hands. 2 weeks later, Claire called back. We found who's behind the online attacks, she said. It was Tessa Dorsey, your ex-wife's cousin. She pulled court records and set up fake accounts to post about Bryce and the other guys Nora was seeing. She says she was protecting Nora by going after the men who took advantage of her. I was floored. Tessa had called me cold for divorcing Nora, but then she'd gone and systematically trashed Nora's lovers. Is she facing charges? I asked. Yeah, Claire said. Cyberstalking, harassment, defamation. Bryce is also filing a civil suit. Was Nora involved? I asked. No evidence of that, she said. Looks like Tessa acted alone. After hanging up, I sat at my kitchen table, trying to wrap my head around it. Tessa had been furious at me for not forgiving Nora, but she'd been just as mad at the men Nora hooked up with. In her mind, everyone was to blame except Nora. It was classic. Her family shielding her, dodging accountability, lashing out at anyone who held her responsible. 6 months after the divorce was final, Nora showed up at Bargain Barn, waiting by my truck when I left for lunch. "Can we talk?" she said, stepping closer. "We don't need to," I said, unlocking my door. "Please, Mason, just 5 minutes." Against my gut, I stopped. "What do you want, Nora?" "I want to apologize," she said. "A real apology, not the half-hearted ones from the divorce." I crossed my arms. "Go on." "I've been in therapy for 4 months," she said, her voice steady. "Real therapy, not the fake recovery meetings I was skipping. I get what I did to you, to us. I was selfish, bored, chasing a rush with no thought of the consequences. I told myself it wouldn't hurt you if you didn't know. But that was a lie. It wasn't about you not knowing. It was about me not caring about the pain I caused." "Does saying that make you feel better?" I asked. "It's not about feeling better," she said. "It's about being honest, finally, about why I did it." "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Nothing," she said. "I just needed you to know I see what I did and I'm sorry." "Okay, you've said it," I said. "Now what?" "Now I try to live without lying to the people who matter," she said. She turned to leave, then paused. "Mason, you were right to divorce me. I wasn't capable of being the wife you deserved. You're a good man, and I hope you find someone who values that." "I'm not looking," I said. "You will someday," she said. "And when you do, I hope you find someone who's worthy of you." She walked to her car and drove off. I stood in the Bargain Barn parking lot, watching Nora's taillights fade into Lincoln's traffic. It was the first real, honest talk we'd had in months, maybe ever, and it didn't change a thing. 2 years later, I got bumped up to district manager, running 35 stores across 3 states. I bought a new place in Lincoln's Crestwood neighborhood, a step up from Fairview. I started dating Rachel, a physician's assistant with a sharp wit and no ex-husbands. She'd never been married, and her straightforwardness was a breath of fresh air. On our 6-month anniversary, over burgers at a local diner, she brought up my divorce. "You don't talk about it much," she said, sipping her soda. "I know you were married, and it went south, but you keep the details locked down." "What do you want to know?" I asked. "Are you still mad about it?" she said. I thought it over. "Nah, not mad, not hurt either." "Then what?" she pressed. "Cautious," I said. "I'm careful about who I trust now." "Do you trust me?" she asked. "I'm getting there," I said. "What's that mean?" "It means I notice when words and actions don't line up. I watch for red flags, patterns of lies." "Sounds like a lot of work," she said. "Not anymore," I said. "It's just how I move through the world now." Rachel nodded, chewing thoughtfully. "Can you ever trust someone fully again?" "Maybe," I said, "with time and consistency." "I can handle that," she said with a smile. 3 months later, we moved in together. Rachel got my need for openness and clear communication. She knew my past had taught me to double-check instead of taking things at face value. One night, as we washed dishes after dinner, her phone pinged. "It's my old college roommate," she said, tilting the screen to show me a text about a weekend get-together. "You don't have to show me your messages," I said, drying a plate. "I know," she said, "but I want to. I want you to know I'm an open book." It was a small thing, but it hit me hard. Rachel understood trust was built through steady, little actions, not big promises or showy gestures. 5 years after the divorce, I married Rachel in a quiet ceremony with family and close friends. During my vows, I talked about second chances and hard-earned lessons. "I've learned some folks deserve another shot, and some situations need a second look," I said, eyes on Rachel. "The trick is knowing which is which." After the ceremony, my brother Connor pulled me aside. "You seem different," he said. "Happier, but grounded." "I am," I said. "You ever regret how things went with Nora?" I glanced at Rachel, laughing with her friends, real and unguarded in a way Nora never was. "No," I said. "I regret not seeing the truth sooner, but not ending it. The pain showed me what honesty and reliability are worth." Rachel's got both, even when it's tough. 7 years post-divorce, a wedding invitation landed in my mailbox. Nora was marrying Owen, a counselor she'd met in a therapy group. Rachel spotted it on the kitchen counter when she got home from the clinic. "Are you going?" she asked. "Nah," I said. "You wish her well?" I thought for a second. "I wish her the strength to be straight with her new husband," I said. "That's the best I got for them." Rachel nodded and tossed the invitation in the trash. We never brought it up again. 10 years after the divorce, I was regional vice president for Bargain Barn, overseeing operations across 10 states. Rachel and I had 2 kids in a house in Crestwood with a big backyard where we threw family cookouts and birthday parties. One Saturday afternoon, as I pushed our 5-year-old daughter on a swing, Rachel sat beside me on a bench. Ever wonder what your life would have been like if Nora hadn't cheated? She asked. I watched our daughter giggle, soaring higher with each push. No, I said. I think about what it would have been like if I'd stayed with someone who lied as easily as she breathed. I'm damn glad I didn't find out. No regrets? She asked. None, I said. The worst thing that ever happened to me led to the best thing I've got. I kissed her hand and went back to pushing the swing, thinking about choices, consequences, and how sometimes the worst blows clear the way for something better. The sun dipped behind our house, casting shadows across the yard where our kids played. Inside, dinner was ready, homework needed checking, and bedtime stories were waiting. It was a regular Saturday evening in a regular suburban neighborhood, filled with the kind of quiet, honest joy I'd once thought was gone for good. I'd learned that some endings are just the start of something new, and some losses turn out to be wins. Sometimes the most shattering thing someone does to you sets you free.